Pedro Pascal is back in the news, and it's not for him acting in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie or the upcoming Mandalorian movie, although the reason why he's in the news is because he is a celebrity and he's using that celebrity status to propagate absolute lies. The latest is he shared a video from the New York Times opinion section that claims the United States is a secret police state. On its surface, this is absolute bunk because if it was a secret police state, the video claiming the U.S. was a secret police state likely would never have been published, and the person making such claims would probably be locked up in a prison somewhere, and no one would know who he even was, because that's how secret police states actually work. They suppress political opposition and imprison them, right? But the New York Times is sharing it out there. Pedro Pascal is sharing it out there, and probably millions of people are somehow buying into this because we have zero critical thinking skills in this country. And it's just absolute shame. But roll this up over at phantompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. And as I said, he shared this New York Times opinion video, which was done by this activist named Masha Gessen. And Pascal shared it to his Instagram stories. You can see the screenshot right there. And there's the guy, Masha Gessen. He is an LGBTQ plus propagandist. And this is what he says in the video. I've lived in a police state, and this is what it's like. It's the catastrophic interruption of daily life. It's the forced mass transports of immigrants. It's the growing irrelevance of the law and helplessness of judges and lawyers. It's the chilling stories that come by word of mouth. A state where there is no higher authority than the police. When the police make the laws, enforce the laws, decide who goes to prison, who gets deported, and who stays at home for now. And again, none of that actually applies to the United States. We still have a judicial system. We still have a legislature. We have an executive branch that the police are beholden to, right? I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. This guy's just completely lying to stoke up fear. And his commentary is like intercut with all of like these headlines and these things to stoke fear. I mean, the whole video is just a giant piece of propaganda. It's absolutely disgusting that the New York Times even ran it. It's even more disgusting that Pedro Pascal shared it to try to dupe his followers into doing this, because I think Pedro Pascal knows a lot of this stuff is absolutely wrong, and he does it on purpose, which I think is even more vile. Anyways, this guy goes on and says, I grew up in a police state, and then I was also an adult in Russia that was becoming a police state. So many of the stories are about lists. Russia makes lists of foreign agents, which is basically lists of enemies of the people. So apparently lists are somehow bad. If you make lists, it's a sign of a police state. No, it depends on how the lists are being used. Like, let's be real here. Come on. I mean, use your brain. Use your brain. When I see that when I see that there are these organizations popping up one after another, organizations like Canary Mission, Stop Anti-Semitism, which are maintaining lists, exchanging lists, submitting lists to authorities, advocating for these people to be detained and deported, I'm immediately transported back to living in a police state and wondering, am I on the list? So I'm not familiar with those organizations, but again, how are those lists being used? Are they actually targeting citizens of the United States who are political opponents to the current regime? Or is it a list of people who have actually committed a bunch of crimes, who are here illegally, and they're trying to tip off the authorities to like, hey, this is a bad person, maybe you should look into them? I mean, those are two different situations here, right? So creating a list is not a sign of anything. It's how the list is being used. Anyways, he goes on and says, so another hallmark of a police state is that they're everywhere. They're everywhere. When you hear that ICE is checking people's documents on the subway, that ICE has detained an American citizen, that ICE is outside public libraries in New York City, you really feel surrounded, stalked. No, I feel like the government is actually doing its job and trying to remove the millions of people who were brought here illegally and should not be here in the first place. That's what I feel. I don't feel surrounded or stalked. I actually feel like the government is finally looking out for the common good and trying to get these criminals off the streets. And then he goes on and says, anyone can be a self-appointed enforcer. Well, I thought you said that the police were the highest order, right? There's no higher authority than the police. That's literally what you said. Now you're saying that anyone can be a self-appointed enforcer. Well, which is it? Which is it? It doesn't make any sense. And the idea that anyone can be a self-appointed enforcer doesn't make any sense at all, because that means the people that are being arrested could be enforcers too. I mean, none of this makes any sense. It's just mind-boggling that people buy into any of this stuff. It can be your neighbor, another parent in your child's school, somebody you see while you're walking your dog. A police state really destroys connections between people by making every connection suspect. No, what really destroys connections between people is when you let crime go rampant and people are suspect of anyone being a criminal around you because the government isn't actually enforcing crime anymore, which is what we've seen play out in the United States. I mean, one just needs to look no further than the Summer of Love in 2020, when the Black Lives Matter organization was burning down cities, looting was rampant, and for my perspective, we didn't really see justice doled out to those people at all. Instead, we saw people being people that happened to be arrested. We saw mass amounts of people funneling their money to get them out of jail. And it was government officials doing this too. Kamala Harris was one of them. That's what I saw. That's how you destroy trust. The most obvious adaptive strategy, the most human one, is to always look at what is happening to somebody and say, well, this is why it's not going to happen to me. So I'm not an activist. I'm not a student. I'm not a green card holder. I'm not undocumented. But I don't think that should be our logic. And I really, 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 for the record, hate that poem about Nazi Germany, because I should hope that my fellow American citizens don't want to live in a police state, even if it's a police state that's not going to be dangerous to them personally. I'd love to live in a country where the police are actually looking out for the common good. They're arresting criminals, and criminals are paying for their crimes. Justice is doled out to them, which is what we were not living through over the last 4 years. That was not happening. And this is what this really gets down to. This is all projection. The Biden regime was letting crime go rampant. People were being killed. We were seeing people being shoved onto subway trains. Like I said, the riots and all of this stuff. Justice was not being carried out. For the most part, we saw mob justice was trying to be enacted. We saw this with Kyle Rittenhouse. We saw this with the veteran, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, who stopped the guy from attacking people on the subway. I mean, that's what was happening. People who were actually trying to defend their cities, defend their fellow man, they were the ones who were being targeted, who were being punished, and the criminals were being let free. How many examples did we see of some criminal killing someone who had a laundry list of a criminal record, but was let free like the month or week before they committed the murder? We saw that. There's so many different examples of that. So don't give me this garbage about this when we're actually now enforcing the law. It does not pass the sniff test. It is obvious propaganda. And Pedro Pascal should be ashamed of himself for sharing this stuff. It's absolutely despicable action. Anyways, this guy finishes this saying, well, we're still capable of looking. We have to say what we see, which is that the U.S. has become a secret police state. It's just absolutely ridiculous. The guy is clearly just lying to people to try to stoke fear. If the United States was really a secret police state, as I said at the very beginning of the video, it's unlikely that Gesson would be making his video, given it seems he's clearly opposed to the current ruling party. Like I said, if we actually live in a secret police state, this guy would not have been making this video. He would have been identified and arrested secretly. We would have never even known about him, and he would be in some prison rotting away, or likely would have already been executed, because that's how an actual secret police state would have worked, not allowing this guy to make a video and have it published to the New York Times opinion Instagram. Like, give me a break. But this is not anything out of the ordinary for Pedro Pascal. He pushes all kinds of insane and immoral political messages. In March, he pushed the vile idea that men can become women and vice versa. He shared an image of a sign that states, "A world without trans people has never existed and never will." It's just simply not true, because there's no such thing as trans people. Men cannot become women, and women cannot become men. Along with the image, he added, "I can't think of anything more vile and small and pathetic than terrorizing the smallest, most vulnerable community of people who want nothing from you except the right to exist." That's absolutely not true. We know that these people are the ones actually doing the terrorizing. They're trying to invade women's sports. They are trying to take advantage of a false empathy for them, and they will vehemently and violently target people who are opposed to them. We see this time and time again. One look no further than J.K. Rowling and how she's treated, and how Pedro Pascal has treated her as well. And then you can go back to, and J.K. Rowling is a liberal feminist too. Like, she just happens to oppose the transgender political movement, right? So it's not like she's some kind of bastion of Christian morality. She's not. She is a liberal feminist. And then back in 2020, he also compared supporters of Donald Trump to Nazis, which has been well publicized. So this guy is all about demonizing people. He's all about pushing insane, immoral political messages. And this is just the latest stunt that he's doing, pushing this just ridiculous video that claims that the U.S. is a secret police state, which does not pass the most basic of sniff tests whatsoever. But let me know what you guys make of Pedro Pascal here pushing this stuff. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more of this as we get closer to the release of the Fantastic Four movie, as well as the Mandalorian and Grogu film. These celebrities love to use their media campaigns to push all of this stuff, and I actually think it's part of the whole promotion of these films is to push all of this degeneracy as well. That is part of the propaganda campaigns that these people engage in. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.
Why would you be afraid of the people? Why are you not afraid of God instead of man?